Hi, my name is I'm a high school student and a certified ethical hacker. Although I have my credentials in cybersecurity, I believe that I can act as your financial advisor. So here are my tips. Stop spending $7 for coffee every morning. Work as a country club bag boy so that you can buy a house at 25 and pay off your $2,000 college tuition fee. And exist in the 1970s. This is all common sense. You should be able to afford all this, unless you're a lazy Gen Z TikToker who's never known a hard day's work. And if that's the case, you're going to need to buy off credit. And that is why your credit score is important. Because if you don't have a credit score because you missed your $6 monthly Netflix bill, your life is over. And this is super duper important to the real world. But if you clicked on this video, you probably don't exist in the real world. You are some type of digital recluse who twiddles your thumbs learning about cyber threats that will never affect you. So instead of worrying about your credit score, you need to worry about your digital safety score, represented by the app I made, HackScore. So in today's episode, I will teach you how to boost your HackScore. So this is the front page of HackScore. HackScore generates a risk of getting hacked, and it's a score similar to a FICO score. So you see you have the Start Assessment button where you can start to assess your HackScore. Below that, you have an AI chat button that uses OpenAI's ChatGPT to help you improve your digital safety. And at the bottom, you have my contact information in case you need help navigating the app. So let's get started. So when we click Start Assessment, we go on to the first question, which is, how many different passwords do you use across your online accounts? And the reason why this is an important question is because when you use a multitude of different passwords, it's less likely that a breach in one password will cause a ripple effect that will cause all your other accounts to become compromised because they share the same password. So this is why it asks you if you're using one password, which would not be digitally safe, one password with slight variations, which is a little safer, not ideal, using many different passwords, which is a very good idea for keeping all your accounts digitally secure, and then the Superman of digital security, a unique password for each online account you have, which is simply unrealistic. So let's click many different passwords. Next question is, do you use two-factor authentication for important accounts? And what two-factor authentication does is it makes sure that you have to use like your phone or your laptop or another device to authorize a login on a website or an application. And what this does is it adds two layers of security. Whereas a hacker, if he hacks into your laptop and he tries logging into something, a message will appear on your phone asking, is this you trying to log in? So you should definitely have two-factor authentications on some accounts. A lot of the times, it's okay to not always have two-factor authentication just because it can be a hassle. It's ideally, most of the time, you should have two-factor authentication if the application supports it. And some people may have two-factor authentication on all accounts, but realistically, you should aim to have two-factor authentication most of the time, but not all apps support it, so we'll just click some of the time. Next question is, how do you manage software and system updates on your devices? Look, you all press the ignore notification button when you see it's time to update to iOS 20, whatever, okay? So some people just don't update their device and they only update when they're forced to. Like the machine literally just updates itself. A lot of people kind of just get around to it, they'll update it when it's finally pushed on them. Some people manually update when they receive a notification, which is a good idea because it ensures that you can always get the latest update, which can have important security patches. But the best is having automatically scheduled updates where when your computer or phone is plugged in at night or you're not using it, it's going to automatically update. And it's such an easy setting that is supported by so many different devices that I think everybody should have automatically scheduled updates. So I'm going to click that option. How do you handle unsolicited emails and messaging? Otherwise, how do you avoid phishing attacks? Some people will open those messages and they'll even respond to them, which makes you highly susceptible to phishing attacks or data aggregation. Some people just check it out. They just read them or they even look at them. Some people ignore it completely. And then the hallway monitors of the digital world will block it and report it, which is ideally what you should do. But I feel like in most people, certainly for myself, blocking and reporting every single spam message that comes to me is quite a troublesome task. So for now, I'm just going to press ignoring it. How do you manage your Wi-Fi's network security? So at home, you have your Wi-Fi router, and you have to give people passwords to it if they want to use your Wi-Fi at home, and you don't want neighbors piggybacking off your Wi-Fi router. So some people just don't have Wi-Fi security. No password is needed. They just didn't feel like it. That's extremely unsafe because if anybody is around your house, they could access all the data being transferred within your house. Some people just set up the router and use whatever security comes with it without giving much care or attention to what it is. And that's not safe because a lot of the times, out of the box, these routers use default preset passwords that are standard across all new versions of the product. So that way, a hacker could easily just put in one of those default passwords and have access to your system. What most people do is they would just set up the router and change the credentials to a password. But most importantly, you have to set up network encryption or WPA2 or WPA3 if you have it on your router. And luckily, a lot of routers do that automatically nowadays. So I'm going to click the setting up your Wi-Fi router with WPA2 encryption. Next question, how do you handle software or app permissions on your device? You know, on an iPhone, whenever you see, Life 360 wants to access your location at all times, you're like, yeah, whatever, just make the notification go away, press accept. You might be doing these to apps that do not need your location. Why does TikTok need access to your photos album or your precise location at all times? It doesn't. You're probably being spied on and your data is being harvested for potentially malicious use. So some people grant all permissions by default. They just don't want to think about it or deal with it. Uh, People may allow default permissions across all apps, but deselect certain features. Like you may be okay with all apps having access to your camera or microphone, but you're going to draw the line at location. So you're going to turn off just location. Some people allow all settings by default, but disallow all unnecessary features like a camera, microphone, location, but they will still allow things like tracking cookies and website visitation. And then ideally, you should disallow all by default and probably just never allow any to begin with, unless it's very crucial, like your camera accessing, the camera app accessing your camera. So I'm going to click the reasonable option, which is allowing by default. Actually, no, I'm going to click disallowing all by default. That's the right thing to do. And even if I'm lying to myself, I'm going to click it. How often do you back up your important data? It's something that everybody should do, but it just like never seems important until something bad happens. So some people never back up the data. Some people only sometimes back up the data. Some people back up the data a lot of the time, but the best people have automatically scheduled backups, which makes sure that you're never going to forget to back up your data, and your data is always going to be safe if something goes wrong. But realistically, most people sometimes back up their data, if not never. So I'm going to click sometimes. How cautious are you when receiving messages from unknown contacts on social media? So if somebody sends you a friend request or a DM on your Instagram account, how likely are you to accept or reply back to them? So some people accept all friend requests or follow requests, which opens you up to potentially fake malicious users harvesting your information. Some people just check if you have mutual contacts with that person following you or requesting you, which is a good idea, but not always secure. Some people will check to see if it's somebody they know, but the problem with this is they could just fake having their profile picture and their name. But the safest thing to do is to message the person that is requesting you directly or ask them in person and say, "Is this social media account yours?" So you know if it's an attacker or it's really them. But realistically, most people check if they have mutual friends. So I'm going to press that option. Question 9. How often do you review privacy settings on your online accounts? Why? Because privacy settings and terms and conditions are always changing. You always get those emails saying YouTube has updated its terms and conditions policy. Do you accept? And you're like, dude, I'm not reading a 3,000 page essay on all these like like law nonsense, okay? So you're just like, yeah, whatever. So how often do you check these updates and changes? Some people will review all settings anytime something is changed, except those people are probably like paranoid, weirdos, I don't know you, get away from me, stop following me. Those guys are crazy. I seriously don't think any real human beings do that. If we're being honest, most people just never check privacy settings when they're updated or when they're renewed. So I'm going to press never. Do you have a PIN or a password set on your mobile device? This one's pretty simple. Almost all users will have a 4-digit, 6-digit, a fingerprint ID, or a face ID set up on their phone. So I think I'm going to choose 4-digit PIN because I feel like that's what I see on most people's devices. Or they'll have a 4-digit PIN, or they'll have a 6-digit PIN, but they'll just have a 4-digit PIN with 2 extra zeros added onto the end because they were forced to have a 6-digit PIN that they didn't want to get rid of their old 4-digit PIN. And let's be realistic, who's using like an alphanumeric text password? That's just crazy. So I'm just going to press 4-digit PIN. What happens in response to a suspected breach on one of your computers? Now, this is a very important disaster handling situation. So most people don't have a response plan. Some people would ask their tech smart cousin what they should do. Some people will run an antivirus to see what's going on. And the most advanced people, most likely a cybersecurity expert, would completely go offline and try quarantining any malware. But like, dude, none of you guys watching are realistically doing that. So I would run the antivirus button for most people because it's the simplest thing to do and it's going to offer you some security protection. How often do you run antivirus scans on your computer? Antivirus scans are a good thing to do, and they make sure that nothing malicious has been downloaded onto your computer. So some people never run an antivirus scan because they just simply don't have an antivirus. Some people like sometimes run an antivirus if they just like, see the option there. Some people run antivirus often, but the best thing to do is have automatic antivirus scan scheduled. I think it's a relatively easy thing to do, and it's a big bang for your buck cybersecurity fix because it just like it takes your mind off of having to defend your computers at all times. It really frees up your mind, and it's a really good and recommended safety procedure to have. So I'm going to click that. How do you handle personal information shared online, such as your address or your phone number? Some people share it openly. Some people post their email addresses or your phone numbers on their social medias for contact information. Some people are a little more private. They don't share anything that could be potentially private information, sensitive information. Some people share no potentially sensitive information, and some people just don't share any personal information online. No emails, no phone numbers, no names, no ages. I think most people should aim to try not to share anything that could contain sensitive information. Because realistically, you're going to post a lot of things on social media. You're going to post about places that are near where you live. You're going to post about your own birthday, your friend's birthday. You're going to post your mom and your dad's like name. You might even post your mother's maiden name and the name of your first childhood pet. Who knows? So I'm just going to click that option for now. Do you use biometric authentication on your devices? For all iPhones users, you probably use Face ID at this point. A lot of Android users on Face ID or they're on fingerprint ID. So for this option, I think it's safe to click always. Do you secure physical access to your devices? Do you just not care about who comes near your device or who uses them? Some people protect it through just a password. Some really paranoid people block their data ports, whereas nobody can plug in USBs, plug in things in the headphone jacks, or access their online ports, have access to printers. And some people just never let their device out of their possession. They never leave it alone for 1 minute in a cafe, or they always take it with them wherever they go. I think most people just protect their device with a password, and yes, they can be sometimes negligent about where the device is or who has access to it. But realistically, it's the easiest, best bang for your buck idea on protecting your device physically. So I'm going to click just a password. How often do you stay updated with cybersecurity best practices? Like, do you go online and read up the news and articles about what the latest attack is and how to defend yourself from it? Most people don't. Some people do it occasionally. Some people do it consistently, and some people like every day with their morning coffee and newspaper, they read up the latest cybersecurity news. So unfortunately, while I wish it wasn't like this, most people just don't really care about the latest cybersecurity updates. So I'm just going to press never. How do you verify the authenticity websites before you put in information in them? Some people just don't do it at all. They don't check the URL, they don't check encryption, which is a really bad idea. And it's how a lot of data gets stolen every year. Some people just check the URL, make sure it checks out, it's the URL you wanted to go to, or at least looks like the URL you wanted to go to. Some people will scan and navigate the website, make sure everything's legit, it's not taking them to any weird pages, all the information is correct and up to date. What a lot of people do, especially if they're technologically competent, is that they'll go through a website's digital certificate, which is given by a browser like Safari or Chrome, which ensures that they have encrypted information protocols and that they are usually a legit website. However, checking a website's digital certificate is not always like a surefire way to make sure this is a legit website. You can get a digital certificate and still have a malicious website. But I think most people realistically just check the URL to make sure it's the website they want to go to. And while this does allow for typo squatting, where a URL is very similar to a legit URL but has like an extra letter or a missing letter, it's the way that most people verify they're at the right place. So I'm going to click that. How often do you clear your browser cache and cookie settings for your privacy? Um, there's a good chance I just said that and you had no idea what I meant, which means that you never do it. So your browser cache is it's a area of memory where all the things you do in your browser, websites you go to, and tabs you have open, they stay stored in there. And what clearing the browser cache does is that it makes sure that hackers cannot access your history of websites and the information you put onto those websites if they have access to your computer. And same thing for cookies. Cookies store your passwords and your keychain information. And the biggest attack in history, the Yahoo attack, was done through insecure cookie practices. So unfortunately, I myself find I'm bad at this. Most people will just never clear their browser cache and cookie settings, or they'll do it so often it doesn't make a big enough difference. So I'm going to click never. Do you illegally stream entertainment? I'm not a cop, okay? But a lot of malicious websites and malicious content can be downloaded from trying to access content and entertainment illegally. So if you do it often, you are putting yourself at risk for potential Trojan horse attacks and spyware and key logging websites. So I hope that you guys don't stream content illegally. Not because I'm going to come to your house and arrest you, just it's not good for your device. So I'm going to hope that most people will click almost never. Do you protect your personal information when using public Wi-Fi, like going to a cafe or an airport? Some people don't even know that their information on a public Wi-Fi network can be exposed to everybody around them, and it's a very popular place for attackers to go to try get information. They'll sit in the parking lot and they'll boot up Wireshark and they'll just siphon information coming from that cafe. Why? Because it's not going through encrypted tunnels. So some people, or most people, just don't care at all. Some people will try not to send sensitive information while they're on the internet. They won't like log into their bank accounts. Some people use a VPN, which is a very good idea. Well, ideally, you shouldn't ever enter any public network, but if you have to, use a VPN and make sure it has a kill switch where if the VPN disconnects, it's going to completely take you off the internet, so you're not going into exposed public networks. But most people are just going to hop on the Wi-Fi and not have a single care in the world. So I'm just going to press I don't protect any information. Do you review and update security and configuration settings on cloud storage devices? Storage services like iCloud or Google Drive can store a lot of sensitive information, and you really need to make sure your security is up to date on those because oftentimes it's a login through a single email or a single account, and it has such a big reach of the possible information that can be exploited. So some people do it, some people don't, or some people will only review it when changes are made to preferences or to terms and conditions. But let's be real, nobody really updates it or checks it. So I'm going to press no. In what ways do you verify the authenticity of prompted software updates? So when your phone, well, at least on an iPhone, when you see, oh, iOS 18 needs needs an update, iPhones are generally pretty secure. But a lot of times when you go onto like a website on your computer, it has those fake browser menus where it says, oh, you need to update to access the website. And while it's made to look very real and it simulates the iOS or the Mac or the Windows update screen, it's actually within the browser, and it tricks a lot of people. And I've almost fallen victim to it myself. So how do you verify the authenticity? Some people don't. Some people will check to see if it looks authentic. Some people will read the full details of an update, like going into the terms and conditions and reading everything to make sure it checks out. And some people, the best thing to do is go to the company's website to see if they have released a new version of the application. So, and check if you need to update to that version or are you already on that version. But most people are just going to see if it looks authentic. So I'm going to click that. What procedures do you do to dispose of electronic devices that previously stored information? You have an old computer, you had a lot of files on it, but it's time to get rid of it. How do you make sure that information cannot be looked at by the next person who inherits your computer? So the thing is, when you delete all your data is not deleted. It's overwritten with ones and zeros, or sometimes not overwritten at all. And while it shows you that it's deleted, it's not actually deleted. It's just saying that space is ready to be overwritten with new data that you put in. So if you just throw out a device or give it away, you are putting yourself at a very high chance of having your data siphoned from that hard drive or whatever storage device you're using. Some people will just sign out of all accounts and hope that there's no information residue left over. Clearing the memory of the storage is an alright idea, but as I said, even if you delete everything and clear the memory, a lot of it is not actually going to be deleted. The best way is to clear the memory and overwrite the hard drive with zeros and ones to, it's not foolproof. There are still ways of getting that information back, but it's overwriting it with zeros and ones many times over is going to help mask any data residue that's left over. Ideally, the best option would be you smash it with a hammer, you drill through it, you use magnets to degauss it, you light it on fire. But I think for the purpose of this app, I'm not going to include that as an option. But let me know what you guys think if I should add that button, because I don't know, some of you guys might do that. But I'm just going to press clear the memory to the storage, because realistically, that's what most people are going to do. Do you sign into other people's devices? Do you sign in to like a library device? a library computer? Do you sign into your friend's phone or laptop to check something if your phone is gone or dead or left at home? Ideally, you shouldn't, but people do it sometimes when they have to, so I'm going to press sometimes. Last question, who do you let access your home network? Somebody comes over, the Mormons preaching at your front door, do you let them in into your home network? Some people do because they just don't realize how valuable being or how much sensitive information, potentially valuable information, there is being transported in your home network. So ideally, you should limit it more. So some people will only let friends into their home network, which is still a good idea, but I mean, how well do you really know your friends? They could be doing anything in their personal lives. You do not want their disgusting, dirty phones with viruses and malware going onto your network. Only allowing close friends and family is definitely a good idea because it limits the total amount of people that are going to have access to your network. But the best thing to do would only allow very well trusted and or immediate family members to access your network, which means trusted would mean you know they're safe, they're responsible, they're digitally competent and secure, or immediate family, where there are people living in the house that need 24/7 access to that Wi-Fi network. But realistically, people just let their friends onto their home network while they wouldn't let like a complete stranger. So I'm just going to press that for our last option. So our hack score was a 510 out of 850. So it was not very good. It was in the red range, which is bad. And the reason why that is because I picked the options that most people would pick. I tried thinking about what the average person around me or that I know would likely choose for the answers to the questions. And realistically, most people are not digitally secure. They are at a high risk of being hacked at all times, and they likely have been hacked, but they just don't know it. So this is why you have to take an in-depth look into your hack score, and you have to learn from these questions and learn how you can improve your hack score and become the most digitally secure person you can. Once we received our hack score, we can press the AI chat button under our score to get ChatGPT's help on how to digitally secure ourselves. So when we click the button, we're taken to the AI chatbot screen, and we can ask a question like, what is two-factor authentication? Once we submit the question, the answer will appear momentarily, and the AI will tell us what two-factor authentication is and how it works. And once we learn this information, we can go back to the hack score assessment and improve our score. Now that we've explored HackScore and we've done an assessment to see what the average person's hack score would be like, and we asked how we could digitally secure ourselves, you should go and download my app on Android devices and take the HackScore assessment for yourself to learn how digitally secure you are. And maybe with the use of the chatbot, you can improve your hack score and learn what things you are doing wrong and what you can do better. Please let me know what I could do to improve the HackScore user experience, and let me know what you did to improve your HackScore and what you did to improve your digital security in your daily lives. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Please like the video and subscribe. I'll see you in the next episode.